Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Well, hello, everyone. I hope that you are having summer fun wherever it is that you are listening from. Thank you so much for being here today. You are in for a treat. We have author T.D. Zummack with us today. And if you have not read his books yet, let me read his bio so you can get to know him. T.D. Zummack spent his adolescence reading authors such as Agatha Christie and Louis L'Amour, and his adulthood reading true crime and watching countless hours of crime-related television. Who doesn't do that, right? To hone his writing skills, T.D. also writes short stories. He is a true crime and mystery nerd, and when not writing, he can be found lounging around his house with his family and their pets. You can learn more about him on his website. I did put a link to his website right there on Blog Talk. So if you're listening live today or if you're listening later, you can click that link anytime and find out more and grab his books. He also has a link there to go read all those short stories. So go when you get time, go take a look. I don't want to delay anymore. Are you there, TD?
You bet I am. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. Thanks for being here. So you have a brand new Western out. It's called The Brand of Brotherhood. Do you want to tell everybody about it and why they should go grab a copy?
Sure, absolutely. The Brand of Brotherhood, it is your typical Western. It's got your bright, shiny good guy. It's got your big, evil bad guy. It's a tale of two brothers who end up, while they're very young, alone on a train together on their way to Sacramento. And they have to find their way surviving in the Wild West of America back in the 1860s, 1870s. They work to find their way through their life. One brother ends up working hard and going the good way. The other one finds the easy life of the bad side of the law a little easier for him, so he takes that way. Eventually they spend the book trying to figure out if they're going to get back together and become a family again or not.
Okay. Well, I had to ask what inspired it because you're actually from Canada, right? So what inspired you to write an 1870s American Western?
As you said in my bio, I was a big fan of Louis L'Amour growing up. Actually, the first book I ever purchased for myself, I bought at a book fair at my school in grades 7 or 8, and it was How the West Was Won by Louis L'Amour. I still have the book. It's part of my collection now. I've collected many more. I loved reading his books. He paints a nice picture of the West. Westerns are just, they're like American mythology.
Right.
They actually happened, but it's American mythology. Everybody knows Billy the Kid and Butch and Sundance and all those great stories. They've all been told over and over again. It's a fun and exciting time to read about, and it's fun to write about as well.
So what inspired you to write two brothers who, one goes to crime and the other one not so much? What inspired all of that?
I was working at a job there, and I had a coworker who told a story regarding the train itself. Actually, he told a story about his great-grandfather and leaving Poland on the train. And I had been trying to figure out a good story to write for a Western. I had written my first book, and it wasn't a Western. And I really wanted to write one to see if I could actually do it. So he told this story about the train and leaving Poland and whatever else. And I thought, with a couple of tweaks, I can really turn this into a Western. It's got a pretty good story to it. And by the end of the shift, I had figured out my two protagonists, what their names were going to be, what the goal was, how the story was going to be a story, what the conflict was going to be. Hadn't figured out quite the resolution yet, but I had most of it done by the time I left the shift that day. So it was pretty good.
Wow. So you were really inspired.
I was, yeah. It was a good story.
Is it going to be a series? Like, are you going to write everyone in that Western town, or is it just a standalone?
I wrote it as a standalone, but there's no reason why it can't be a sequel. I mean, I left it with, my protagonists are 21 and 22, or 21 and 19 by the time the book is over. So there's lots of life left for them there. So I'm sure I could probably write a couple more in there if I can get inspired again.
Okay. What is next for you? What are you working on now?
Currently, I have I have 4 different first chapters written, so I'm just waiting to see which one of them speaks to me and inspires me again. But yeah, there's 4 different first chapters. You know how it goes. You get an idea and you write it down somewhere, and then you start from there. Your next idea speaks to you a little bit, so you write the chapter there, and then you go. But lately, I've just been working on the Brand of Brotherhood here and trying to get it promoted now since it first came out.
Okay. So I have to ask, because your first book that came out was actually looked like a div noir kind of book, Amazing Grace. So
right.
That seems very different from the Western. Do you want to tell everybody about Amazing Grace? And that one's more of a suspense, it looks like.
Yeah, Amazing Grace is more of your detective serial killer type novel. It's my first one. I call it a novel, but I think it's a little short by industry standards, so it's probably a novella. But either way, that was the first book I've written. That one took me 20 years. It was an idea at one point. Yeah, I know. It was an idea at one point, and I started writing it, and then, life happens. You have kids, and you have jobs, and
right.
You're working for paying bills and whatever else, and you forget about it, and you put it away. And then at some point, you start it again, and you go from there. But I finally just got fed up enough at the job I was at that I said, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write this. So I sat down and I finally finished writing it and got it out there. If you've ever seen the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, it
right.
kind of runs in that same vein, where the killer is using the words from the hymn Amazing Grace as the playbook for their crimes.
Oh, that sounds good. That usually detective novels like that spin off into series to follow the detective on all these crimes. Is that what you're thinking? Do you see more stories along with that detective?
Yeah, it's one of the first chapters that I have written right now.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the 4.
Right.
It's one of the 4 that are written. There is a sequel that can be planned and plotted out. Yeah, so it's there.
Okay. So anyone listening who reads Amazing Grace or has read it and wants the next book, you need to reach out to TD and tell him that's the one you want him to write next.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Well, what was your writing journey like? Our listeners are always curious, did you always want to be a writer? Did it come to you later? And then once you decided, it sounds like you found a community to write short stories. How did you get to your first book?
Well, like I said, the first book was a long time coming, but as far as being an author, yeah, once I hit my adult years, it was something that I wanted to do. I felt that was what I wanted. I don't really fit well in the 9-to-5 sort of lifestyle. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem to work well with me. So I'm always a little bit more on the creative side. I'm not so great at sitting at a desk, which is ironic because now I sit at a desk so I can write. But
right.
So I started that, and then, you work your job, and then, like I said, I finally just got fed up enough that I said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to see if I can get it started. So I started writing that. While I was finishing writing that, I found that website, vocal.media, that allows you to print your short stories out there. So you can put your short stories on the internet that way, and it's great if you have a quick little idea that inspires you, and you're stuck somewhere and you want to try something. You can write a quick little short story, and then it gets you back in the writing flow.
Oh, I like that.
And get you started again, and you can put that short story out there, and people can read it if they choose. And so it was a nice website. I found it on Instagram, and I was like, this is great. I can put some short stories out here and go from there.
And did you join a critique group or go to, conferences or workshops? How did you take it from just short stories all the way to a novel?
I have taken a couple of quick classes at the university here. There was a couple of night classes that I took. They were a semester long, and that was about it. So I took a couple of quick classes just to get a little bit of writing experience, right? I didn't really have experience other than I have ideas in my head and I want to put them on paper. So it gives you a little chance to learn from others and what they're doing and learn the actual story structure format and how it should work from there.
Right.
You know, fancy words like denouement, you get to learn things like that.
Well, it's always good too to get extra eyeballs and get outside feedback, because when I was just starting out, I know that some of the best advice I got was from a writer friend who told me, Lisa, you can't travel with your book. So you've got to put everything on the page. You can't stand behind someone's chair and go, do you see what that means? What that really means is, I was like, oh my gosh, that's true. But it's all in our head. And sometimes, you know, you're not really connecting it on the page.
Yeah. You know, actually in writing the 2 books, that's actually the favorite part I've got so far, is that everybody who reads it finds something different in it. They all find something different that reaches out to them. I had one lady who read Amazing Grace tell me that she likes the fact that I wrote strong women characters. And, you know, that wasn't the goal when I started writing the book. That wasn't something I thought about. But when you sit down and think about it later, she's right. I got 4 female characters in there. They're very different, and they're all very strong in their personalities, and they come through that way. So that's what she picked out of the first one there, and other people have picked other things. I have a character in Brand of Brotherhood that doesn't even show up until the last 5 chapters of the book, and that was one guy's favorite character in the whole book. So, you know, everybody finds something different, which is really fascinating. I mean, as a writer, you sit down and you write what you think is your story, and then somebody else reads it and interprets it totally different, and it's interesting, and it's good feedback.
Definitely. And so I have to ask, have you ever ridden a horse? Have you ever pretended to be a cowboy or any of those Wild West things up there in Canada?
Well, I don't live on a farm, but, you know, I have uncles that do. I have been on a horse before. I wouldn't say I'm a cowboy by any stretch, but I have been on a horse. I think every boy at some point growing up wants to be a cowboy at some point. So,
right.
At least in my generation, anyway. I mean, yeah,
that's what
I mean,
makes
in my
writing
generation,
magic, right? Then you can be one.
Yeah, before all the Marvel heroes took over the box office, right? In my generation, It was the cowboys that were the heroes. You know, movies like Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, you watch those and you're like, that's the stuff, right? You know.
Right.
That's what you grew up with. That's
yeah,
how it goes.
Tombstone was a good one.
Yes, Tombstone was really good. I mean, Kurt Russell was awesome as Wyatt Earp, so it was. They're good movies. They're entertaining, and you watch them. And like I said, westerns are like American mythology. They're everybody knows about them. It's there, right? Your Greeks had Zeus and Hercules, and the Norse had Thor and Loki, and Americans get to have Billy the Kid and Wyatt Earp.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So who inspires you? You talked about Louis L'Amour and Agatha Christie, but are there authors that you pick up now that you read and you're like, oh, I got to go get to the keyboard?
You know, I stick pretty close to Louis L'Amour and Agatha Christie. Every now and then I do have books that jump out and you're like, man, that is some good writing. I do enjoy that story a lot. One of my favorites, the first time I ever read it, I was totally enthralled, was Everybody's All American by Frank DeFord. You know, I'm a sports nut as well, so I like to read it, and it's based on football, but it's a great story. It's a good coming of age story, and he paints it really well. It's really vivid when you're reading it. You can really, it's really vivid when you're reading it. You can really get into it and see everything. It's a great story, so I did enjoy that one.
Is that one, that sounds like it's just like the American novel, right? Or is that one a thriller or suspense or anything?
No, It's just an American novel, you bet. Like I said, it's
Gotcha.
it's a coming of age story. It's no thriller involved in that one, but it's a great story.
Okay, so everyone add that to your TBR list.
Yeah, if you haven't done so already, absolutely. Everybody's All American. It's a great story.
Oh, love that. So when I saw that you wrote short stories, it warmed my heart because I got my start writing short stories, and I got to meet Ray Bradbury a couple times before he passed away. And he thought that the only way to become a writer was to write short stories. He told me to write a new short story every week for a year. He said, at the end, you'll be a different writer. And I was like, what? I had already sold short stories. I knew they don't pay very well. And I thought, what? But I had written a novel and I was having a hard time selling it. And that he was so right. I got desperate and I thought, okay, fine, I'm going to write a short story every week for a year. And I ended up doing it for almost 2 years. I have so many short stories, but it really did change everything. And 3 of my book series actually came from those short stories. So I love that you are writing short stories. He thought of them as sprints. He said you wouldn't step out of your house and go run the Boston Marathon today. You would do shorter runs and build up to it. And he said writing short stories teaches you how to be a storyteller. School teaches you to write a sentence, but you have to learn how to have a voice and write a story. And I just thought that was so
Absolutely.
Smart. And I think, have you tried writing all kinds of different things with your short stories? What do you usually write over there?
With my short stories, it's a bunch of different stories, different background type things. I do have a Western there. I do have a Western. I have one about it's kind of in the same vein as The Perfect Storm, the movie with George Clooney. So it's about some maritime fishermen. That one's called Tempest on the Deep. That one actually got shortlisted on their competition on that website. Didn't win it, but it got shortlisted, cool. So that was good. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of different stories. I absolutely agree. Some of the advice I see on a regular basis when it comes to writing is the more you write, the better you'll be at writing.
For sure.
And I agree. I think even just between my 2 books, between Amazing Grace and The Brand of Brotherhood, I'm not super confident in a lot of stuff, but I am confident in my stories. I think I have good stories. I think I have entertaining stories. And just seeing the difference between Amazing Grace and The Brand of Brotherhood, I think Brand of Brotherhood is probably written better than Amazing Grace was.
Mm-hmm. Well, you hope you grow every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible to say. Amazing Grace was my baby, and it was my first, and it's always going to be my baby. But yeah, I think Brand of Brotherhood is probably written better. But it happens every time. The more you write, the better you get at it, which is pretty amazing. So it's good that way. I can't wait to see how the 3rd one turns out when I write it. So. Yeah.
Which one is going to be the 3rd one?
That's a good question. What is going to be the 3rd one? We'll have to wait and see. 2 totally different genres. 2 totally different genres in the first 2 books. Maybe the 3rd one will be a completely different genre. You never know.
Yeah, I did think about that when I saw your books were in totally different genres. But, when you write short stories, you dabble in everything. Like I wrote it when I was trying to do one every week, you get desperate for topics, and I'm going through odd news stories, trying to find something. So I wrote a couple Westerns. I wrote a couple hard sci-fis. I wrote a time travel, shipwrecks, all kinds of, just because I needed a topic. But I think that it also does make you a better writer because you're writing something that is a little out of your comfort zone, but it teaches you something because every time you finish, you've learned something, right?
Yeah, completely. Every time you're done, you've got something different that you figured out or something different that works for you. It works good that way. And yeah, with the 2 genres, Agatha Christie and Louis L'Amour were the big influences. So I wanted to write a mystery and I wanted to write a Western. So I've got my 2, and we'll see. It was a little more fun writing the Western than it was writing the mystery thriller, but that's basically just because of the material, right?
Right.
So it's a little
right.
more, Western's a little lighter than the other one, so it's a little more fun to write that one. But we'll see which genre speaks and where you go. I don't know, maybe I don't have to be a genre author. Maybe I can just continue to write all over the place and go from there.
Yeah, hopefully if you can get your readers to follow you, that's always the challenge.
Right. Trying to build an audience is the big part.
Yes. Yes. I always tell people, writing the book is kind of the fun part, because then you have to really become the business person and you have to find your readership, because they don't even know you exist. And, thousands of books come out every single day. How am I going to help them find mine? So, yeah. So this is the hard part.
Yeah, this is nothing I've ever done before is anything like this. So it makes it hard. I intentionally, for my entire adult life, I intentionally kept my circle small. Even my Facebook circle is small and tight, right? I don't have a lot of people on there. And now I wish I did.
Right.
Now I wish
right.
I had more.
Now
you had a larger audience. So that's where interviews like this are perfect. They come in handy. You can try and get it out there and get it to a few more people. You spend your days obsessing, looking at your Amazon number to see if it's dropping even further or if it's moving up a little bit. When someone's bought a book because suddenly you're jumping up thousands on your Amazon ranking. You're like, hey, someone bought one, yay! So
yeah,
obsessing over all this stuff is. Yeah, when it comes to writing is definitely more fun than actually trying to promote it. You bet.
What did you do for your other job? What did you do? Is it something that you think you will ever put into a character in your fiction?
I had thought about it at one point. I've done a lot of stuff for as far as my background experience goes, but I did have a job where I was working at an airport where I thought maybe that might be interesting. I started to write something, and then as I was partway into the idea in my head, I was like, this sounds a lot like Die Hard 2. Maybe I should stop. I'm like, whoops. I'm just rewriting Die Hard here. This is probably not great. So, but you never know. I mean, you get enough experience behind you, you're always going to pull from something. So it could be
right. Maybe a side character.
Yeah, maybe.
So when you are not writing, do you read books like in the genre that you want to, or maybe even binge watch things that are kind of, just to get inspired?
Yeah, binge watching, that's a good one right now. You mean there's so many different services and so many different channels.
Yeah, there's so much content. Yeah.
I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have 500 channels with every channel having its own forensic show now, right?
Right.
We didn't have that content. My introduction into forensics, I used to read a book called 2 Minute Mysteries, where the stories in the book were a page and a half, and then at the bottom of the second page, written upside down, was the solution to the crime. So you'd read the story, and then you'd flip it upside down and read the quick solution. And that was my introduction to forensics and how this guy managed to solve these crimes so quickly. And, some of that stuff really stuck to you. I remember one in particular where he solved the crime because the guy said he found the envelope between page 157 and 158 in the book. And the solution at the end of it was you can't get between 157 and 158. They're on the back of one another. So, you're like, wow. Nice. So then you're going to check. You're looking at all the books going, he's right. It's something you never think about, but every book you're like, hey, that's right. Oh my goodness. But that was my introduction to forensics. I mean, now you can watch it constantly. You can watch it. Every channel has its own forensic show, so you can watch it constantly and get introduced to all that sort of stuff. But you can easily get inspired by that.
Yes,
but
and I love reading, that.
Go ahead. As far as reading, right now I'm reading a book by a gentleman here in town called his name's Lee Chambers, and I'm reading one of his books right now. And he's a filmmaker, and he likes to novelize his screenplays. So, I'm reading that
Very
one right
cool.
now. So, but yeah.
I also like that now that there's so much content everywhere to binge watch or whatever, you can find that there's so much more content being made from books. Like I think it's Edo Van Belkin who did The Wolf Pack. He's actually a Canadian author, and he came on the show when that TV show first started coming out on Amazon. And Sarah Michelle Gellar is in it. And I write a lot of werewolf books, so I watched it. And it was really cool because his origin story for werewolves was much different than mine. And I just love seeing how people, you know, twist things up differently and package it up differently. And that always inspires me, you know, and I think that it's cool now that so many books are getting picked up for that kind of thing because they need so much content for all these streaming services.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good time to be out there. It provides a lot of competition, unfortunately, but it provides a lot of platforms. So you have the ability to get it out there and get to a lot of places. You're going to compete with a lot more people, but you get it out there. Like I said, the one thing I'm confident about is my storytelling, so I just need to find the right person who agrees with me, and we can go from there. And hopefully, you know, I'd love to see them both on film. I think when I wrote Amazing Grace, I thought it's perfect for film. I think it's built to be a screenplay at some point. So it would be nice to see that on the screen. And, I mean, Brand of Brotherhood, it's a Western. It's a niche market. But, you know, Westerns are cyclical, especially in the filmmaking. They come around all the time, right? Like we said, you had Tombstone and Wyatt Earp that came out at one point, and then Clint Eastwood did Unforgiven, and then Russell Crowe and Christian Bale were in 3:10 to Yuma, the remake of that one. And now Taylor Sheridan is bringing back the Western with a modern twist on it with his Yellowstone and their sequels. So it's cyclical. It's on its way. It's coming back. So maybe someone will find it and pick it up, and who knows? Maybe it'll be on the screen before you know it.
You never know. Well, how can readers find you when they read your book and they get excited? You said that you have a small Facebook following, but are you on any of the other social medias, or do you have a newsletter list? How can people get in touch with you to find out what's next?
Absolutely. I have a website you can go to. It's TD Zummack. That's all lowercase. The last name is ZUMMACK.com. So that's tdzummack.com. You can find me on Instagram with, it's at TDZummack. Only on Instagram we have the periods in between the T and the D, so it's there. So TDZummack on Instagram. Facebook, everything is capitalized for as far as the T, the D, and the Z go, and then everything is lowercase after that. And then Twitter gets a little confusing. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's a capital T, but it's a lowercase d, and then it's a capital Z, and Zummack is where it is.
All right. And do you have a newsletter list so that people can find out which of the 4 books wins and is going to be next?
Yeah, if you're on the website, you can subscribe. You can end up on the email list. I promise I'm not going to flood your email box. My mom is on that subscribe list, and if I flooded her box with a bunch of irrelevant stuff, she wouldn't be my mom anymore. So I try and keep it nice and neat and tidy. You're only going to get
about her email box.
You're only going to get information that's going to matter. So as far as the next book and that coming from her, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, everybody definitely go check out The Brand of Brotherhood, and also Amazing Grace sounds terrific if you like mysteries, kind of like that Seven movie. Definitely give those a whirl, and go to TD's website and sign up for his newsletter so that you can find out which of the 4 books gets to be the next book. But thanks so much for being with us today. It was great chatting with you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invite. This was fun.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.